This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Marc Sale, the CEO of First Class Metals. Thank you very much for joining us today, Marc. How are you doing?
I'm good, and thank you for having me on board again, Mark.
It's good to be catching up. We're going to have a catch-up really on the field season operations, aren't we, now that they are well underway? Let's start with Sunbeam. You're doing some core review, is that right?
That's right. We took possession of all the Newinsko core. We've moved it to a secure compound where we can relog what we want to and possibly sample some of the sections that we feel should have been sampled but weren't, which is no criticism of previous explorers, but we're trying to look at it from a different angle. So yes, where necessary, we will take some more samples. But not only we're doing that at Sunbeam, but we also have two prospecting groups out on the ground across the Sunbeam extended area, looking at possible extensions to the Sunbeam, Roy and Pettigrew lineaments.
Okay. What about Essa then? Some soil sampling that you've been doing, is that right?
That's right, yes. I mean, we finished the season last year with quite a successful soil sampling program across that inferred shear at Essa. That's come up with some really nice anomalous trends, not just gold, but trace elements as well. So what we're doing now is we're going back and actually taking samples at right angles to the shear. That's because we have a feel that 0.7 gram Hemlo lookalike boulder could be on an intersecting structure to the shear. So we're trying to cover all bases. We're covering these orthogonal shears with soil lines, and then we'll do some more prospecting around where the boulder was, as well as some of the highs in the existing soil grid.
Okay. And McKellar, that's of course the area that's got the rare earth elements, hasn't it, as well? Also some soil sampling being done here.
Well, it wasn't soils there, Mark. It was sawn channels. We took quite a lot of sawn channels there in order that we could, really what we want to do is verify the historic values as well as hopefully build on them. Previously, we went in there and it was a bit of parachute in and grab some samples. They weren't all in the most ideal locations, but hopefully this time it's been a little bit more systematic. And of course, using the sawn channel, it's equivalent to a horizontal drill hole, though of course not all the channels are continuous. But yeah, it looks good. Some of the samples the guys got from there, but obviously it's not until you tag it, bag it, and get the assays back that you're really sure.
Indeed. So just to explain, you say it's a saw channel. That's where you're actually taking a sample across a trend. Is that right?
Well, what you do is, with the diatreme, it's a conglomerate. It's all mixed up. It's not like it's a vein, but let's assume it was a vein. What you would be doing is you cut two parallel lines 2 to 3 inches apart, and then you chip the material out between them. So it's a very consistent sample. It's consistent in its volume and consistent that it's sampling everything across the vein, if it was a vein. What's important from a sawn channel as opposed to a chip channel sample is if you're trying to chip it off with a hammer and chisel, you tend to get more of the soft stuff. And if there's a lumpy bit sticking out, that breaks off, so you get a bigger bit of that. So there is a possibility to bias the sample when it's a chip channel sample as opposed to a sawn channel sample.
Okay. And this is at surface, isn't it? At surface level, effectively.
This is all at surface, yeah. And okay. if they're successful, and once we get the permit, then obviously we would look at doing some localized stripping in order to increase the exposure, and then go back and do some more sawn channels.
Okay. What would you be looking for here? Are you actually hoping to find rare earth credits within the sample, or is it sort of pathfinder elements?
No, actually rare earths, yes. Some of the samples taken in the 90s, if there was the volume, certainly the grades identified would be economic.
Okay. And then just moving on to Dead Otter then, what's been going on at Dead Otter Lake area and North Hemlo?
Not much at the moment, if I'm honest, and that's because North Hemlow's got a little bit more forestation, shall we say, than Essa. So the snow is still sitting under the trees and access isn't so good. So once the thaw's a little bit more advanced, then we'll be going back into the dead otter and we will be further prospecting that trend, taking more samples and obviously building it up to a drill target. And when I say to a drill target, that's something that we can almost put a peg in the ground and say, this is where we'd like to put the first drill. But again, that's permit notwithstanding.
Okay. And what about Zig Zag then, the other project? We've not heard much from that. Is anything going on in that project?
No, not at the moment. We did do a recce up there for access. The guys went up there on skidoos, not all the way, obviously, but got into it. And it's going to be, there is no vehicular access into Zig Zag, so it will be a helicopter supported exploration program. And the intention there is also to use Sawn channels. And as you're aware, it outcrops over 800 meters up to 20 meters wide, some 1 to 2% lithium oxide and tantalum values. And the initial idea would be at Zig Zag to go in there and cut Sawn channels orthogonal to the strike of the pegmatite. And this again would be to verify the historic samples as well as sort of quantify in a better way the whole exposed pegmatite.
Okay, so pretty active field season so far, just waiting for the snow to melt there to get onto North Hemlow. So you're seeing the rest of the field season be pretty active, Mark, and you mentioned there about drill targets. You're hoping to get them ready before the end of the field season? You're hoping to get some drilling done this year, maybe? I'd
be very disappointed if we didn't do drilling on one, probably two of the prospect areas this year. I mean, and the four that we are intending to bring to drill target readiness would be North Hemlow, Essa, Zig Zag, and obviously Sunbeam. That's the intention. I'm not saying that we'll drill all four, but I would like to think that come the end of the season, we're as close to getting ready to drill them as possibly having drilled one or two of them.
Okay, excellent. And just finally, are you planning to head out there anytime soon to supervise some of this exploration or indeed get down and dirty yourself?
I'm going out there a week today, actually, and yet I intend to get out there down in the dirt and the mud and do a bit of tagging and bagging myself.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we can catch up when you're out there, Mark. But for now, thank you very much for your time. Marc Sale, the CEO of First Class Metals.
Thank you, Mark. You take care.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.